That is a significant session, not just for South Africa and for Muthusamy with a Test 100, a first in his international career, but with what might prove to be decisive session in the outcome of this Test match, the outcome of this series, as South Africa pile on the runs in the first innings. 112 in that session, 26 overs. Marco Jansen played no small part in just flattening India out. So we see where this Test match stands, what it means for India, who have to make the play if they are to avoid a series defeat. This is Bajaj Finserv Mutual Funds presents ESPNcricinfo Matchday. There'll be a lot of South Africa talk in this, and rightly so, with Saba, Karim in studio. And I think it's fair that we go over to our friend Vernon Philander, who's on a hot streak, isn't he, Saba? He's nailing these sessions.
Well, I'm pleased that this time around Vernon also got it wrong. He only said if South Africa will manage about 70 odd runs. They managed 112 from only 26 overs.
Yeah, so he'll be happy to be proven wrong when it's on the other side. But what a fabulous session that is, Vernon Philander, for South Africa, and how they've seized control, if I may say, of this Test match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm happy to be getting it wrong, first of all, in the runs column, but I think I'm more happy that they've only lost the 1 wicket. But again, I think I spoke about Muthusamy and the character that he brings to that team. Again, I think from an Indian perspective, they would have perhaps hoped by now they would have bowled out South Africa. But again, I think he allows, those batters around him to play, their freedom game. I'm also very happy in the approach by Marco Jansen. I think in the past he got himself into trouble by trying to be a little bit defensive. I think his outright method of scoring will be to be a little bit more aggressive and play his natural game. But I think from an Indian perspective, we are nearing breaking point here. I think, there's so many elements that come into play at the moment. There's the element of mental fatigue, physical fatigueness. And these are things that South Africa will be latching on. I don't think you're going to see South Africa retire. I think you're going to have to bowl them out because they have certainly earned the right in this series, by winning their first Test match, to really, go and bat an extensive period of time. But I think they've done a magnificent job. India being in the field for more than 150 overs, their third new ball coming up. So these are all elements that you have to factor in, from an Indian perspective. And I think India have to make the play. So they will have to dig deep. They'll have to go insert some, in that energy tanks or the resources. But I think South Africa has done pretty much everything, that could have been asked from them.
Yeah, I mean, even the onslaught from Jansen, I guess it's a big session, Saba, from a mental point of view too. India would have entered that session like you finished our last show, thinking that they'll get these 3 wickets and they'll look to already perhaps think of starting well. Now they're in here with the score at 428. It almost can affect your belief or confidence of what you can achieve now in this Test match.
It does, Raunak. It deflates you completely because most of the time on such occasion, the top order batters start to prepare. They expect your bowlers to pick up those 2-3 wickets so that they can start afresh. Now whenever India gets to bat, they will really be very tired. Now I think India is in a position that they will have to force the pace now to eke out a result. I'm just trying to recall when did it last happen, and my mind goes back to maybe 2016 against England home series at Mumbai. I think England scored 400 plus. And India in the first innings outscored England by about 250 runs. And that is how India managed to win. But for that to happen, especially against a bowling attack which is so well balanced like the South African have, it is going to be a Herculean task for India. So richly deserved session, full marks to both these batters. Look at the way Marco Jansen counter-attacked. And I think that subtle change in their batting plans has really worked very well for South Africa.
Yeah, 100%. Once they dismissed Viren, you thought, all right, they're broken into, or they're into the tail, and Jansen's counter-attack was crucial. And we'll come to Jansen, but got to spend some more time on the story of Muthusamy, who has a Test 100 now, Vernon. And I wonder if you could just give our viewers a little more insight about the Muthusamy story. Someone who debuted in India in 2019. He's only played 7 tests in 6 years since, and he's not necessarily someone that will make the 11 regularly when South Africa play in home conditions. But this is a heck of a story for a player who's been on the fringes of South Africa's Test plans.
Yeah, I'm super happy for him. I think knowing the guy personally as well, he's made the move. He plays for the Dolphins, or used to play for the Dolphins. Back home, he's made the move up northwest. He's an extremely hard-working cricketer. I think, you look at the way he trains, the hours he put in behind the scenes. So when this kind of thing happens, you can only but feel, that he absolutely deserves every single bit of accolade coming his way. He's one of the hardest working cricketers alongside the spin twin Keshav Maharaj. You always find him bowling overs. You always find him working on his fitness. So when this kind of thing pays off, I think you just actually want to tap him on the back and say extremely well done. But it has been an innings where when someone has done all that hard work, you can see he wasn't going to give India any chance. He was never going to let it slip away from him. He was always going to make this opportunity count, and I think he's done it on numerous occasions now for South Africa. Every time he has got an opportunity with bat in hand, he really wants to be the guy there till the very end. And I think it speaks volumes from the character of the guy, number one, but also the sheer determination, to use this opportunity to full advantage.
Saba, your takeaways of what's been most impressive of this innings from Senaran Muthusamy?
Flawless knock from him, and so invigorating for the South African lineup. For someone like Muthusamy to come good here in this all-important Test match. He was not part of the Test match at Eden Gardens, and that would have been an ideal choice. I mean, there was multiple opportunities for Tamba Bavuma to get in Muthusamy, but for him to remain focused and to come out and bat in a position where South Africa to some extent were under the cosh, and for him to survive the overnight session, last evening session against Bumrah and Siraj, and before that the spinners who were quite confident at that point of time. I was quite impressed with the kind of tactics he utilized. He's a batter who waits for the ball, and that is why if you look at his wagon wheel, he's got most of his runs square of the wicket on both sides. So he allows the ball to come to him, plays it under the eye, and these are very good signs for a batter like Muthusamy. And he realized, and I think that's another asset, especially in home conditions, Raunak. I think once you step onto the ground to bat, maybe after 3-4 overs, you get to figure out your game plan. And this is a surface in which if you focus, if you put your head down, runs will come. And there were stages when he showed dogged defense. But I think whenever there was any scoring opportunities, he was able to avail that quite easily. So wonderful knock from him.
Absolutely. Well done, Senaran Muthusamy. I can also share that while he grew up and was scoring runs for the Dolphins and even was a provincial prolific school cricketer, he didn't want to rely on cricket as a career, so he completed a degree in media and marketing because he wasn't sure of his plans or reliability as a cricket career goes. And Vernon Philander, I don't think he'll need that degree.
I think he's used all his marketing streams to to the best of his ability by scoring this 100 in India. Look, I mean, you always sum up players, given the circumstances of the game, and I think given where South Africa is heading, I think this team over the last sort of 24 to 30 months. I mean, every single Test match, someone else stood up, and created history for this team, and I think. Once you've installed that into players, I think it becomes a blueprint number one of the team, but it also forms part of the DNA. I think once someone like Muthusamy get his opportunity, he's gonna make it count, and you can see he is so determined to be there still till the very end. I think very, very often now you'd have perhaps seen a batter trying to be a little bit more aggressive, but he's still staying in his bubble. He knows that he wants to bat India completely out of this, and he's so determined. To make this knockout, and I mean, again, what a phenomenal human being. And like I said, knowing the guy personally, he's always going to give himself the best opportunity to succeed, whether it's on the cricket field or off it. So extremely well done.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point to make. Now, regardless of how this test goes, South Africa have a stronghold on it. But I wonder, Vernon, if you could share whether you feel like there's been quite a significant psychological shift or an attitude shift at the back of the World Test Championship success, in which there was also some fairly unfair criticism of South Africa having not played some of the bigger teams or not played bigger tests. But the way they've come in here, they bounced back after getting bowled out quickly in the first innings at Kolkata, the series levelling win in Pakistan, assessing this session as well, the way Marco Janssen's batted, the way they've played here. I wonder if you could just share whether South Africa are playing like a team worthy of their champion tag, and whether that's just been liberated in the last, say, 12 months or so.
Yeah, I think given the nature of how this team has shaped up just before the World Test Championship, I think there was a lot of criticism, obviously not playing, some of the bigger nations, but we all know playing Bangladesh, especially being a young South African team, that's a tough task at hand. And I mean, to overcome that, first of all, they tick the right box there, by gaining confidence there. Then they've gone on to the West Indies. They beat West Indies, obviously 2-1. And again, they just kept ticking the right boxes all the way through. So, yes, right now they've beaten Australia in the World Test Championship. So they are worthy winners of that maze. But at the end of the day, with that maze come a massive expectation. And like you rightfully pointed out, there's been a lot of criticism. The word expectation comes to mind. But just given, the history of this team and how they've acquired that confidence, really, gave them the boost to go over to Pakistan, first of all, and believe that they can win there. Now in India, they still believe that they can beat India. And that's why you are the World Test champions at the end of the day. So I just think, the last sort of 24 to probably 30 months in South African cricket, there has been a massive shift in mindset. And you have to also credit, the management team. Supri Conrad, I think,
Yes.
he's perhaps not the most well-known coach, but he definitely extracted the best out of his players. I mean, I keep saying this, throughout the series as well. There's no real superstars in this team, but the way that they, celebrate each other's successes, the way they make each other tick, every single game, like I said, someone else steps up, and get the team across the line. That speaks volumes of, the management style, number one, but also the trust, the belief that they have in each other as a group. I think Temba Bavuma is a fantastic leader in installing calmness in that squad. So, they would believe that they can beat India. And of course, once you've got the World Test Championship, tag behind your name, you have to go out there and still keep proving to people why you are the world best test team, and obviously in the universe. So they've done all of that, I don't think anyone can question this
Yes,
team being
100%.
the title holders of the World Test Championship maze.
Yeah, and when we see a team win here on ranked earners, we have this debate of, India is so much better, and the skill element between the two sides is the gulf is reduced when you play on turners. They have made India toil hard and work hard on what are Indian pitches, where we're supposed to see India show their superior skill. It's testament to the champions.
Yes, absolutely right, Raunak. And I think what triggered it is the comeback in the series against Pakistan. First test match, whatever I could figure out, I think they were outclassed, but they came back strongly to level the series, and they came with so much of self-belief and hope here in India. And they had enough resources to upset India at home. And they did that in a splendid manner in the first test match at Eden Gardens. And they've continued in the same way in here in this test match also. There is so much of trust that whoever goes out to bat or whoever goes out to bowl, they'll be able to pick wickets even against a strong Indian lineup. And I think that kind of trust and confidence one is seldom seen in a foreign side. And I think these are great attributes of a world champion. I think that's what South Africa have shown so far.
Yeah, and I think, it's not like we're doing the post-match show where South Africa have secured the series, but we just feel like this is now their game. It's very hard to lose this game from here, even though there's a lot of cricket still to be played. But Marco Janssen's counter-attack in that middle session, I think our Karthik Krishnasamy wrote a very pertinent piece of India managing to keep a lid on things, even though it's not like they ran through wickets. A session like that, with Janssen coming off, and he missed one. What does that sort of tell you about their awareness of the game and why they were successful? What's the impact of that particular session with how Marco Janssen played?
I think it clearly showed that their intention, even at this stage, is to post a massive first inning score so that they can really outclass India. And I think that shift in balance one could see now. I think that is why one saw a very aggressive approach from Marco Janssen. And I think Muthusamy also, after that, realized that this is a surface where he can also score briskly. So it was a great combination between both the batters. But I think it was Marco Janssen who showed even Muthusamy the way. But I think they have worked really hard. The lower order batters have worked very hard on their skill in terms of improving their batting techniques in these conditions. So I think it all boils down to preparation once again. And do they have any tailenders? Keshav Maharaj is also a capable bat. We saw that in the last test match at Eden Gardens. Simon Harmer showed a lot of resilience against Bumrah and Siraj on the second or the third day. So it is a very tough side to dismantle.
Let's get into the key the tactical aspect of that, and both of you can weigh in. Vernon, why don't you kick us off on that? It looked like Rishabh Pant was getting frustrated at Kuldeep Yadav not tossing it up, but the times he did toss it up, I think Marco Janssen's managed 4 sixes off him. So that particular little matchup or contest, Janssen got the better of, which I guess added to India's woes. But that was crucial to how that session played out, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I just feel that that's the element of risk that you have to take from an Indian perspective, though. So, yes, I mean, yeah, you could be whacked for a couple of boundaries in the process, but yeah, you do want to afford yourself, the opportunity of dangling the carrot and getting a wicket that way. Of course, Marco Jansen, and I think South Africa's earned the right, to be scoring runs at, this very moment in time because they've battered India into, that element of fatigue at the moment, that element of desperation. So, yes, there will be scoring opportunities because, India is desperate. They want to get these wickets. So they will perhaps come a touch straighter. They will perhaps, give the ball a little bit more air. But I think still India needs to be a little bit more patient because it's not just going to happen on this surface. Years where you're going to be tested in all categories as a cricketer. I think you're going to be tested in terms of your physical attributes. You're going to be tested in terms of your overall skill level. And this is where you need to come together and say, you know what, guys, we are being put to the test. But we're going to have to be a little bit more patient here because it's not just going to happen. We're not just going to bowl a couple of balls in an area and knock over a batter. Yes, we need to be a little bit more smart in terms of, tactically, obviously, bringing our A game, obviously to the fore. But again, I think the spinners from an Indian perspective, way too flat, way too quick. And yeah, they just need to persist a little bit more and a little bit longer. Obviously in bowling it a touch slower and inviting, Marco Jansen or even Muthusamy. I think the key for me is you want to try and get Muthusamy out because once you get him out, you basically open up, two doors. But as long as he's going to be there, he's going to be the anchor for South Africa. And I mean, I was just watching, Siraj's bowling team, just before, this lunch break. A couple of shorter balls and he looks so uncomfortable. So I don't know why they haven't persisted with that plan a little bit longer. I think he got two to fly through the slip cordon. Of course, there's no slips obviously in the cordon right now, but that's the kind of opportunity, that's the kind of creativity that you need to see from an Indian perspective in a little bit longer in terms of persistence.
Right, let's go deep into that. And that stat at the bottom of the screen is telling that Kuldeep Yadav conceded 38 of his 5 in that session. I think 3 of those 4 sixes by Jansen was of Kuldeep, 1 of Jadeja. So both key bowlers for you on what they lacked in that session. Saba, Kuldeep Yadav, could he have tossed it up more? What else could he have done even though Jansen was taking him down? And to carry on from Vernon's point, what did India lack in terms of their pace bowling plans?
So the two spinners, they toiled hard today, Raunak, but I thought Kuldeep Yadav tried his best in trying to toss up the delivery, trying to bring it above the eye line. But for that matter, Marco Jansen's eye line is high above. So it was not easy for him to find the right kind of length. And I think the long reach helped Marco Jansen to get to the pitch of the ball. Not that he stepped out, he does not need to step out. And he was able to get the swing of the bat at the right time, and the impact was so good for him. Similarly for Ravindra Jadeja, I think once Marco Jansen realized there's no turn on offer from this surface, he was able to utilize his long reach once again. So that was extremely tactical for Marco Jansen to step up on the aggressive side. I also felt that, now getting back to what India could have done, I felt that Rishabh Pant's captaincy was a little bit on the reticent side. It could have been more proactive, like Vernon mentioned. What about Siraj and Bumrah persisting with the short pitch deliveries? There was no game plan as such. Also against spinners, could he have tactically better position fielders in the right place, so that you are at least you're giving the sense you're trying out something different to get a batter out. On a wicket like this, you need to have excellent communication between the bowler and the captain in order to set the right kind of field. I didn't see that happening. Maybe it was a first test match, but I felt the kind of person, the kind of personality Rishabh Pant has, he would come out on that from that kind of a shell and show his identity on the field as a captain. I didn't see that happen.
Yeah, I guess India. I wonder if it's fair to say they've been a bit shocked by that session or rattled by that session.
Yes, I think maybe they were expecting wickets to fall quickly. I think once they saw this partnership building, they had no clue whatsoever. I didn't see any so-called strategy on view from the Indian bowling unit.
All right, let's go to the next session, which is as crucial then as it comes. But South Africa have the advantage now. Vernon, is it still the same plan? Let's keep just batting time as long as this goes. Does Jansen come out and continue to try and take the bowling on?
I think we're going to see a more aggressive Marco Jansen, but that's his natural game plan. I think they're looking to take the game to opposition. I think that's also when you get the best out of Marco Jansen. I think we've seen it in the past when He's trying to be defensive. Yeah, it doesn't quite suit his style of play. So I think we're going to see him being a little bit more aggressive. We might even send Muthusamy trying to up the ante a little bit, but still within their game plans. I don't think they're going to go and search for things outside of the bubble, outside of what they're accustomed to. But I do feel we're going to see a little bit of injection. But there's absolutely no need. I mean, you look at it last season, 120 plus runs.
Yeah.
Being scored in that last season without taking a massive element of risk. So I don't think South Africa need to go and search for things. I think they just need to do more of the same. And as I said earlier, every single run from here onwards will be a bonus for South Africa. So they will have their sights probably on that 460, 470 mark right now. And at the way that they're going right now, I wouldn't hold it again.
Yeah, very quickly on Janssen, how many bats does he carry? Would you have any idea, Vernon? I think he's already broken 2.
Well, he's in his fortress at the moment in India, so I think he can get bats, pretty quickly delivered to him. But normally, I think normally guys carry about 3 to 5 bats, depending obviously, whether you're better outright better or not. But being an all-rounder, I can tell you there'll be 3 or 4 bats in his bag. So he's basically running on his limit at the moment.
Yeah, and it just seems so small in his hand. Even though it must be a pretty big bat, but that's just Marco Jansen.
And he feels it so well, isn't it?
Yeah, he's kept Kagiso Rabada busy. I must say it's been a very busy test match for Kagiso Rabada, the 12th man, who I haven't seen in that role very often, nor is South Africa. Yesterday he was dropping gloves everywhere. I think the South Africans were having a bit of a chuckle about it as well. I wonder if, Vernon, you picked it up. KG Rabada doing a role which he's not very well used to, while those poor ribs still recover.
No. He is not used to delivering number one, and that's why you can see you wouldn't make a very delivery point. Dropping your parcels left, right, and on its way to the delivery.
Vernon, I loved the celebration though in the last test match. As soon as South Africa won that test match, the first one on the field was Kagiso Rabada. He was so happy for his teammates.
Well, there you go. I'm sure there's a delivery pun joke somewhere there, but it's not come to me right now. So we'll leave it there for Rabada. Let's focus on the players at hand. Now, this is a very important final team talk, you think, before India take the field in this session. If you were in Gautam Gambhir's place, what is the most important thing right now you tell them? Because I can imagine the Indian batters are already thinking about how they're going to try and get 450, 500 quickly enough to force a result. You can get ahead of yourself in the game. What is it that India need to remember?
Well, that's something which India should avoid at this stage, Raunak. I feel it is so important for India to remain in the present. And I think the present is to get the last 3 wickets of the South African lineup. And maybe if India can bowl out South Africa, say 475, even from this score, even that looks pretty okay for India. And then India should look to outscore. And I think then India needs a much better, batting performance from the entire batting unit. And that's a big ask for India. But I think at this stage, Rishabh Pant, Gautam Gambhir, all the bowlers, they should be getting together and coming up with a plan that can at least restrict South Africa to about 470, 475.
Have they already outbatted India?
I think about 80-85%, Raunak, but it is not going to be easy. As the match progresses, even now the wicket looks very good. In fact, this is the best day to bat, but I do expect the wicket to start to some extent misbehave from tomorrow onwards.
Okay. Suddenly we're missing the misbehaving wickets, which South Africa put 28 for 7, Vernon. I wonder if you are as well. But I must also bring in this time yesterday, or rather this session yesterday, and if South Africa bat about an hour 15, and then there's the changeover for another 10 minutes, suddenly India's batters will come out in that debated artificial light that we spoke of last evening, which could also have its say as to the timing of when this innings ends.
Yeah, I was about to point on that very point. I think from a South African perspective, they probably try and get another 60 runs quickly, and then use that light to their advantage. I think it's always a massive, battle, trying to pick the ball up, when that artificial light do come into play and into effect. And of course, I think we've seen, the umpires trying to stay out there for that a little bit longer. So I think from an Indian perspective, if South Africa can go at them for about, say, 10, 12 overs this evening, they would feel that if they can knock 2 or 3 over this evening, they would definitely open up a door, for tomorrow. I think the best time for me to bat, perhaps in the morning session, the surface looks a really good one. And I think, on both these first 2 days, it actually looked like, you can get in and you can really score. But I think that the tricky session has been this last one, where the light starts fading and the ultimate light coming into play. So I think there's a massive window for South Africa, and I think it's something that they will probably discuss right now and hopefully utilize a bit later on.
Brilliant. Let's get into prediction territory where Vernon Philander's had a pretty good record. Go for it, Vernon. Will this game be when we chat next at Stumps?
I think South Africa is going to try and get another 60 runs quickly, so they want to try and get to that 480 plus mark, and then I think they're going to try and bowl at India 12 overs this evening. I think India will be between 2 or 3 wickets down.
Ooh, Saba Karim.
I'm fine with the score that Vernon has spelled out here, but I would be for India to survive and maybe think of winning this Test match. India can't afford to lose more than 1 wicket in the evening session if they get to bat. That's what I'm looking at from India's perspective, Raunak. But it is such a Test match that is so interestingly poised.
Yes.
South Africa have done very well, and they have actually now they have pushed India against the wall. Now I think it is India's call to come out and look to outscore South Africa in the first innings. It is again all about first innings score.
All right, brilliant. Well, we will see India bat, you think. I'll tell you what I think we will see. Unlike Tony D'Souza, poor fellow just playing an honest game yesterday, we might see some gamesmanship if India come in under the lights. They'll just not see it anywhere. There'll be a lot of time there. Maybe that's what will happen. Right, on that light note, thank you Vernon Philander and Saba Karim. South Africa hold the advantage. They are continuing to press their advantage in this Test match. Let's see how this crucial final session on day 2 ends, and join us for end of day analysis on Bajaj Finserv Mutual Funds presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.